And we try to keep a little beauty in the world. All that die, but keep it in our hands. We are the freedom boys. Keep it in our hands.
Good morning, or whatever it is, wherever you are. So I did a little bit of investigation Sunday. I found the KISS test program, which has been extended to test all other databases without having its file renamed. And we got it to run. So we was at a point where we do, well, I need to fix up the sudo thing, but there was a sanity check at the start where it did a write and a read. And that passed, and then it started to do inserts and immediately failed. I found out if I removed the read back from here, then it could continue on with the inserts. So I started searching for write after read failures, and somebody was pointing to this. If you're in read and write mode, the stream shall be flushed or repositioned for a reading operation which follows a writing operation, and also before a writing that follows a reading operation. So presumably the Linux version of these operations handles things better. Maybe they track that internally and force a flush? I don't know. So I have had to make a few tweaks to things. Actually, I undid most of my changes, and I might actually leave that stash up because I don't need it right now. There is no mall info on Windows, so we can't get the bytes allocated. And then we're seeing this sudo thing. So we really shouldn't need to do that. And the syntax checker is complaining about files, which, even though it's annoying, I don't know if I want to mess with right now. But LinearDB3. So I've got this hack I was using to try and see if there was a particular place where the file position was getting off, and like ftel is fine. So it must be at like a different reading and writing position, or it's not synced or something. So this is sufficient to get it to pass, but we're doing the seek every single time. So what we really want to do, let's So the brute force method of this is to make this manually on every operation, and then look around for which ones we can remove. And some of these will have their own seeks. Okay, so that's all the freads. Fwrite. All right. So now, well, I guess there's so write header. Well, this is doing a forced fseek here. So that's not conditional. And then this is write to write to write. So these themselves are okay. You might consider, oh, but the file pointer is different sometimes. So this is in-db file. They're mostly going to be in-db file, aren't they? Oh, well, your temp file. We're going to have to pay some special attention to that one, because it's not going to be a conflict on there. In-db file. In-db file. Actually, no, this is write to write, so this one's automatically fine. No, that's db file. Now your in-db file. Your db file. Okay. So from the top. Now, for the case where this is ambiguous, so this is a read header, so we're going to 0. So that's going to be unambiguous. To that is going to be unambiguous. And to this is going to be unambiguous. This is doing an unconditional seek to the header again. So that's fine. That's fine. And this is a loop. So write. Oh, wait, your temp file. Wait, what are you seeking in? In DB file. You're reading from the header buffer. You're writing to a temp file. You're writing to a temp file. Fclose temp file. And then renaming temp file back. So the temp file is write only. And in fact, if we find where it creates temp file, it is probably write, so it does not even have that issue. It is not in read-write mode. So all things to temp file are fine. We have read from file to read from file. This is an unconditional fseek, so you're going to be fine. This is a conditional seek, so that one we may have to come back to. Conditional seek. If empty rack, we do stuff there. That one we're not as sure about. Yeah, he says never seek, but sometimes we actually have to. So that one we're not sure about. This one we're not sure about. This is read to read, so those two are fine. This is a conditional seek again. And we're back to top. So now we have to consider the hard cases. We're doing a conditional seek, so we might have to go back to maintain this kind of optimization. We might have to track what our last operation was. Yeah, fixing it is going to be interesting. Because I think to do this without excessive seeks, we're going to have to track, find. Well, within a function, we can generally figure things out. A small command app with 2 new lines. Oh, so you were you watching the GitHub issue, or did you just find the test program as well and figure it out? Yeah, I mean, this is kind of 2 lines, but yeah, with a little bit more thought about where we do these, you could probably do fewer of them. Ah. Oh, did you suspect it was the read-write issue? How did you come to the how did you figure it out? Or were you using some of the linear DB code and wrote your own test? But this is a write we don't know when it was at the end of a file. Oh yeah, I saw that. I just didn't know why. Because sometimes he'll go to the end of a file deliberately because he wants to append, but if that was the read position, which is weird because there was an exception, stream shall, whenever that operation does not reach end of file. Oh, the quote for f open, okay. Yeah. I guess I wasn't paying particular attention to the fact it was end of file. So our current cases are, where are we? Consider fingerprint bucket. We are reading into a record buffer and then doing a key comparison. Because of fingerprint collision, read key to make sure it actually matches. So this is definitely a read here. Is this unconditional? The only places that need fixes that I didn't go that far in. Yeah. That's probably what I've got left. So this is going to be the first operation in this function. So when we come in here, we don't know what our state was. There's a whole bunch of conditions here. We could go from read to write. Non-empty record, ready to write value. Already seeked and read the key above. We know not empty rec, so we already seeked and read the key above, ready to read value now. Okay, so the record buffer was actually for the key. So this one is probably fine, because this is the else case of this whole thing. So it's a read, we did this. So this one should be safe. That's when we go from this read to this write. And then this is only in the case of empty rec, so we might... but this is not... oh, those are opposite cases. But that brings us back to, we don't know what the condition was when we entered this file. Wait. That's if we did that. If we were in... what do you mean? I'm reading this as this is undefined behavior. If you don't follow this. And Linux just happens to define it in a useful way. And then Windows, well, it's undefined, so sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Depending on exactly what's happening behind the scenes, which, I mean, maybe you could find the files, maybe you couldn't, I don't know. Yeah, so this is conditional on not empty rack. So we don't know that we did do a read here. So we might still have done a last write. Hmm. Well, I mean, I think yeah, it was like it was failing, but I wasn't getting an error code when I looked before. I guess it doesn't say undefined. It just says it, the stream shall be. I don't know. Maybe that was something I saw in one of the other posts I was looking at about it. Yeah, so this has complicated logic. Uh, okay, this is get or put. So get or put. Oh, consider fingerprint is the get. Maybe. Yep, that's the get. Uh, oh, and this is doing an append if it wasn't found. So we might be able to logic into what that means. And iterator next. That's doing a read, that's doing a read. Not called internally. Okay, so we already got the read to read. No. And then the top. Okay, so we've got iterator next. We've got, we might be able to do from get or put. What would be the flow? Keep going if it's a 2. One of the cases we return to is if we did a read. Oh no, you know what? This is per database. Linear DB3. Fingerprint bucket. Overflow index. Fingerprint bucket. Bucket page. Page manager. Number of records, file, fingerprint, linear DB3. Record buffer, and then this is all of open database, close database. Type test direct linear DB3. Max load, num records. 32, 32, 32. I don't know if he's worried about structure packing here at all. Or we're going int to 8 to, well, 8 pointer, so it's a pointer size. And your more pointers. And I guess really the safest thing would be just extend the record. And then I don't know if there's a better place to put this. I'm rusty on my enum syntax. Type def enum message type. So he's doing a type def for it. I mean, I guess I could define it beforehand and say that's what it is. And then it's just list, type def, boom, enum, boom. Did you? No, wrong buffer. Type def, enum. I don't want to do a Boolean for this because there is a like just opened state, for instance, where it doesn't matter, or an unknown state. Is that unknown or other? Not applicable. Okay, so I've opened a few files here. Living life page. I thought this might be easier to get back, but apparently I was wrong. Map, we were doing map.h, we were doing kissdb.h, lineardb.h. Actually, we don't even need these. Okay, up here, and it didn't even open. Message type to, oh, yep, same symbol. So I guess open would have to initialize this. In DB, file open. Does this call any functions? Because we're still kind of initializing things. It doesn't exist yet, open. Well, this is going to be a straight up sequence. To find out file size. Write fresh header. Well, write header. That's temp file. Write header should probably take care of things itself. Oh, there is a getter put here. So we need to be consistent before we possibly do that. Oh, but you're doing a seek set. So actually, that's not applicable. If anytime we do a seek, we're safe. Oh, right. Make completed type. Wait. No. Up there it was, but now we're going from fseek to fread. But only, oh wait, this is RAM part of table anyway. Ignore data file. In hash table, oh, so this is loading into hash table effectively. Okay, so if we go to here, then our last operation is a read. But this is num records in file. Fstream. I'm not familiar. Oh, is it the C++ version? Well, I don't want to do that big. If it's a rewrite, I don't want to mess with it. Yeah, this is the class-based system. Which, I mean, I imagine Jason would object to the function overhead and class stuff. If it did, although since this is kind of a higher level interface, it'd probably be under the same function. There is no note about it. So if we do a read, that's that. But we always do a seek here. So as long as computation reaches that point, then we're good. What is this? Read header, rewrite header. File doesn't even contain the header. Write header should take care of it. Read header, read header, read header. Fseek. This is writing to a different file and then replacing it. I sort of did that. I guess I was trying, because he's so concerned about performance, I was trying to avoid having additional function calls and logic in there. But you could have it one that is... Well, the thing is, sometimes the code is going to seek in and of its own accord. So then you'd have to have like your own seek override that set flags appropriately. So it starts to get a little bit complicated. Admittedly, that does sort of solve the problem in that you're safe-ish. And in that case, I probably would just do a search and replace, rather than the hacks I was doing for temporary purposes. Except since this is going to cause overhead with extra seeks, he might not want to apply it on Linux. So at the end, we kind of want to diff this and conditionalize everything. Okay, so you've reopened. That's an fseek, so that's safe unconditionally. Uh, well, there would still be there would be function call overhead. So would that be a thing we would explicitly do, or would we just count on the compiler inlining a small function? Got here, header matches. So I think this is only reading. So the question is, you do write header. Oh, that is if write header not equal to 0 to return. The write header could take care of itself. Inline. Yeah. Well, okay, so the one difference would be is that we would pass it an in DB so that we could use that DB's flag. Also, I don't know that he ever uses number of records field. So you could leave that out. Although it would be less of a drop-in replacement, but... But that would sort of guarantee that you never did that without having to think as hard. Yeah, I thought you could kind of logic it out. And probably the other parts of it may not be as bad. Well, open really shouldn't write anything except for that temp file stuff. Because we've got write header. Although it does have early returns. I guess as soon as you get to here, well, we're going to execute that, so. So any return from here is a last operation write. Does write need to consider... This does an automatic, this does a forced seek. So it's fine. The open seems to be... that takes care of that case. Doesn't exist yet. Find out size. We rewrite the header. Else we do a seek. Make sure hash table exists. Does not contain a whole number of byte records and truncating it. So this is a total file. repopulate the local hash table, which does the seek set and then this. Well, there are, oops, possible returns. So we should probably just give it a default value. So how bad is this? So consider fingerprint bucket could probably come in from just about anything. So this is do we need to seek? We're about to do a read. Or in DB, last operation is last stop write. La soup. So that takes care of you yourself. This can return this is a write, which also has a conditional seek. And this was a write. This, well, we still want to be able to track it, even if we error out. Last stop write. Else already seeked and read key of non-empty record. Seeked and read key. I wonder if this is the main culprit here. Because this is a read to a write. So he's saying if we get here, if it's a hit, if it's not a hit, then we just bail and return. So it doesn't matter. If it's not an empty rec, we seek and read. If it's a write, and that's empty rec, which means we're going to go here. Yeah. Let's see. This kind of actually changes this entire thing. Right after read is undefined. Well, we don't know if this in particular. Hey, Black Saluna. If this line in particular is the problem. So this one's unfortunate. Because read then write is going to be... Yeah, because it's a very, very specific point where we definitely do read write. The thing is, if we exit out of here after doing a write and then come back and do a read, uh, well, there are programming boot camps that will claim to get you going in, I don't know, maybe say average 6 months, or maybe some of them are in like 12 weeks or something. I think they're a little bit expensive. I know that since that has taken off, there's been a lot of new candidates. So some of them get into hiring assistants. I'm not up on how effective that is at getting an actual position. So you might want to read up on the results of people going through those programs. So that's a place where we can definitely say we know not empty rec, so we already seeked and read the key. So this is read to read. So the only thing we have to do here is make sure that that's all synchronized. So what are you? Non-math minded. Well, I mean, there are also things related to programming. And while computer science, well, okay, so there are several things. Computer science has a long tradition of being grounded in math, but you'd probably need for programming proper, you'd probably need to still enjoy like logic and thinking things through. And then there are related things around programming, sort of like I know for bigger programming projects and games, you'll have like producers that sort of organize everything. And I guess they still need to be able to think logically and understand some of the programming issues. There's You could maybe get into some light coding with more of a design-oriented thing. As far, I mean, that'd probably mostly be web. There's other kinds of design, and so it's sort of user interfaces, or they'll call it UX sometimes for user experience. Yeah. So that's been my experience of it anyway, as far as being still, you need to be able to think logically about how the computer's processing things in order to make it work effectively. Okay, so this is a seek. Can we say anything about prior operations? Consider fingerprint bucket. Can exit in a bunch of places, actually. That could be an error. Okay, so I'm not sure if this will synchronize if it errors out. So this can error out. It can return on a 2. So that could be a read, or it could come down here and do a write. although that would have a different return value. So we might be able to deduce what that would mean, but I don't want to. Let me do another one. Don't seek unless we have to. We are about to do a write. IndB. Last operation. What did I bungle here? Must have bumped something. No, call 47. Oh, indeed. And then I must have copied that. So, so those tests. Well, if we never set the last stop fields, we'll never perform extra seeks. So that might be the way to get through it. All right, so this will take care of that. Where is this? Iterator next. Iterator next is something that's called from outside. fwrite. Make iterator safe to interleave with. Oh, so it's like. He sort of knows about it, but he assumes that so the problem here, and maybe this is the entire difference, is that Windows will report the position as the last read position, which you want to know if you were doing a bunch of reading. But maybe the write position is different. And that will force a seek there, and then these. Last operation equals last stop. Yep, there's that colon again. So this one we know we always have to force. The fwrite above that. So this was iterator. Iterator init, iterator next. When it writes to the end of the line. Consider fingerprint. Yeah, unfortunately, I think I may have lost the stream lag there. Writes to the end of the end of the file. Well, there's a seek end. Yeah, this one we were doing a read check. Well, yeah. Oh, yeah, because it was here in iterator next. Yes. So that passes the test. So I probably have a bunch of other stuff in here. Hmm. But since this is a assumed one, we couldn't just use conditionally setting these to make this a conditional feature, so to speak. Hmm. All right, so there's that. Now what I want to do, and this is where some of the other stuff. What, did it just assume the last one? Oh, that's not the right kind of show. I actually wanted to diff that. Where was it? It was map.cpp. Put cached. And that's time cache. db put cache. And then I have to get a context open again. This is local. Oh, nope. They turned that into PowerShell, so I can't use it anymore. One life. Nope. You don't have any completion? Oh, here we go. Oh, right, it's the other slash. Oh, I did not clear my database files here. Okay, so without a cache, we seem to be operating. And things are back. Now, our change is preserved. Because that might be a little bit of a different thing there. There was also, I was mainly focusing on map. There was an issue with roads. Was like one of the original bug reports. Okay, so that preserved. Um, so we need a flat rock. I think it's a rock. Yeah, flat rock. And actually, I can just go directly to floor stakes. And then one of the particular problems, I think, well, let's check that and then make sure we can do another one. I think that was where I ran into trouble last time. Okay, so that's there. I think there was a rock down here. Okay. All right, so that's a fix. So the question is that a good fix? Because there was the whole question raised of, could we wrap it such that it, well, you'd still have to have a per database field because they're different databases. They're going to have different read-write operations on them. Which means you would not be necessarily a drop-in replacement for fread and fwrite, because you'd have to pass a database in order to get to both the file and the last operation flag. But you could sort of globally guarantee that that would be fine, and that would give you a single place to deal with changes. So we've got that. That's the test code I'm not using. There's a lot of little changes here. And we have to define that. We disable the cache. And we'd have to examine all of those. In order to make the behavior conditional in case he doesn't want to run it on his Linux servers. We could even make it so that if the option is off, the custom read-write well, we'd also want to because one of the things we rely on sometimes in avoiding seeks is knowing that we have seeked. So we might also need a wrapper for seek. So that we can identify whenever Last operation is NA because we've seeked and everything's fine. Then there's the fact that if I did do a different solution, I'd want to like keep pieces of it. It's like you still need last operation. I guess it's kind of the header file. And this would be the hardest part to retype. So we'd have to replace all the function calls with ones that took a database. If we're not doing the fix, those can just become macros that do one and database file. If we are, we need to track our last operation and seek if necessary. So there'd be some if test overhead, checking last operation every time. So yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Well, we can evaluate, and it scrolled off, if there's a performance impact on Windows. I don't know about Linux. I mean, we could go do that to a certain extent. Random look, 19 seconds. Look miss, fraction, look miss, fraction. So 47 seconds. The one where I did a seek every time in a wrapper was like 1 minute something. 1 minute, 19 seconds or something. Inserts after miss, 21 seconds. I'd have to run it on Linux to get a sense of what it is without the extra seeks. Mm. Yeah, I don't like this because it would be very easy to break during any edit to this. And I guess it's performance intensive, but we still want it to be correct. So I'm kind of wondering, should I just make a thing that says, well, we want to be at this position, but we sometimes use seek end, which might be more efficient. Linear DB3 .h. Now I guess, well, I could engage STG for this, although I don't know if I intend to keep most of these around. Oh, we're into functions already. Yeah, you are going to be the hardest thing to redo. Git stash save. Oh, right, wrong window. That's the MinGW. I guess I could have just uploaded the file there. All right, so this is the database. All right, so we still want last operation type, last operation, and linear DB3. So, next load cell, hash, I was putting this up by the other ftel and fseek stuff. So we're going to have what I could use out of the other stuff is I did have functions that were prototype compatible. Do we still got the diff here? Up in this stuff. So we're going to have maybe the functions should be defined elsewhere, really? All right, so const void pointer buffer size t size. He doesn't use count, and this is it linear DB3? Yeah, he's got all the page manager stuff up here, and then yeah, linear DB3 pointer. But we've got our Win32 overrides up here, so. We might have to move this. Linear DB3. And it can be similar, except this is not const. Size count was file. So the basic version of this, probably just return. So would we just not define these in non-Windows? Or maybe this should be like, well, these are the safe versions, and then we'll define like dbfwrite or something. Or maybe just dbwrite. Isn't file write really? Return fwrite of buffer size 1 in db file. Return fread. So that's your basics. And then in db, last operation type. Oh, we have to also do seek. Is last stop. This is a write. This is a read. And then we want to say if in db last or not operation, yeah, last not operation type. I'm going to create my auto completions. Then we need to in db file 0 which is not his style. No, it's specifically if it is read. And I might still have to set this value in certain places. And then I guess we would also have what is, well, I was specifically looking. Let's have a window open for that. Stand.io. Int file long int. Right, and JSON style. File pointer. Offset. Is there other doc? Fseek that includes the names. Okay, so this calls it stream offset origin. And the only thing we really need to do here is it's NA. Oh, we can do this and then return that. It's not a DB seek. Oh, no, it is. Near DB3. So we have to set the operation on that. So this is DB seek. Then we've got that. So I guess I could define these here. Define DB seek as Win32. Oh, you know what? I have to use argument format, which I think No, I just rewrote the symbols. Because this is, well, no, so like you'd be simple. This one has to use argument format to do DB offset origin. And I don't know if macros are more picky about syntax or not. And then DB write. Oh no, this would be the else case. So this would just be fseek. fwrite, which messes everything up. So fwrite is the buffer size dB, which goes to buffer size 1 dB file. dB read so those all fall back down to there. I guess we'll need some of this. And for this, we use dB. Oop. We pass through dB. Don't need size. Of course, now this means I do have to actually fully test it on... Well, I guess I could just force it to use these, and then it'll fail. Where are you complaining? Oh, right, because I fell for this usual thing. So that gets it everywhere. Oh, you need a test. Alright, so %s. Well, I can't really search and replace this, can I? Because we're changing the arguments. Well, I could still search and replace that and then fix up the arguments. Oh, well, we don't do every one. It's only databases. So, like, some of these probably are safe, but this, once again, this comes back to the thing we have to think about it. This is temp file, so we don't really care, because we know it's write only. Temp file. No, it's write only, rather. Okay, so that should be all the writes. Yeah, it's still DB file. Yeah. The formatting's different enough that I'm not sure I could macro this. This is a DB file. And then fseek. Did I do seco? No. For ease of switch. Oh, I may have not finished converting that. Right, because I have to take a dB. No. What is that? No. Substitute. Substitute dB. These might be more amenable to macro. Oh, I guess he means safe to interleave by file position. Hmm. Okay. Oh, yep. Safe. Safe B right. Oh, we gotta hack this stuff back. Otherwise, it'll just run the bad version. Flush between ops and mall info. All right, well, this is going to take a minute, and I would like to take a break. I will be back in a few minutes. Oh, hi. Was he fighting a warper? All right. Home again, home again, home again.
Oh, gotcha. Right. Fahrenheit. I live in a country that uses ye old Celsius. So I was like, what? But that totally makes sense. 100%. Okay, let's get liquefiable stuff. This is ice and snow. Copy your settings over. Like that. "14 strength. That's pretty sweet. But is that what they started with? Because that doesn't get boosted up, right? As far as I know. Okay, so we need to do some more debugging. So the issue is when it comes out here, it wants to go in either direction. So when it comes out, I think we need to make sure. But why would it ever try and go backwards? There's an exit over here.
Base dug out. Let's build that other set. Meal lice. Or meal wood. As far as it goes, putting doors down everywhere, it's a little bit of overkill. I probably don't even need to do that, but I just like it. One advantage to it is a little bit here.
All right, so that took 48 seconds instead of 47. It's still a fix. That's slightly more overhead. I don't know if it's noticeable. What we could do is we could attempt to force inlining. Well, I'm just making a 19 instead of a 20, but that could just be variation in other CPU load. Oh, that took 49 in total. I'm not sure exactly where it picked up that time. Now I'm a little bit curious, though. How much variation do we get normally on this? Non-existing, non-repeating values up to 0.5 seconds. $48. And we can't get a baseline for the original version without switching over to a Linux environment. All right, so that is, well, not that I tried the other function more than once for time-wise. The other version. I guess Nope, not you. So this still touches a lot of stuff, but it touches it in a way... Well, I guess you could forget to use the DB read and write if he was kind of tearing through. And just updating things in his format of his memory. But that would only be a problem in those situations. 48, yeah. It seems like it's a little bit slower this way. Hmm. Well, I may have to go with this one as in terms of being future-proofable. And it should have no overhead on Linux because we just macro them back. So one thing I might want to do is abstract this a little bit. Mm, I don't know what else to call that. Paranoid? And then if def then we can take all of this and put it down with the actual database stuff. Okay, yeah, there was no references to that before there. Oh, you know what else we need to do? We need to, well, no, because I put dbseek, which will set the pointer. Oh, it's right header. Well, it just overwrites it. So that should be the first thing we, well, no, we open the file. Get record size. Yeah, and then we seek to end, which will set the operation type to we don't care because it was a seek. And then double check. Oh, I have not disabled cache on this one. Well, that's just gives more immediacy to the feedback. Okay, so all this stuff is still here. Move some things around. Okay. So that passed that basic check. So we're doing this stuff here. So I need to, for the KISS test, well, C and H. Okay, we lost a line up here. Okay, yeah, we lost a line. Yeah, so these spaces are ones that I didn't actually touch. Now, how or can we get a proper editor here? So I am on a branch called server debugging. We want to fix, read, write. I am not. 1 hour 1 life is created by Jason Rohr. However, he has made the source is public domain with restrictions that essentially say you can't compete against him. Is what the updated thing says. But it's available, so there's lots of so I do some custom client stuff. Someone called Obs is doing a Windows build of the server he's providing to people, and he told me that there were weird database errors happening with things not being remembered and sometimes just sort of disappearing or duplicating. So we found out that it has to do with some, I guess in Linux it's okay, but in Windows the read-write thing is actually an issue. If you're not being careful about your order. So I'm doing a very, very brute force sort of thing. I tried a sort of piecemeal, very specific solution, but I'm like, you know what? If anybody touches that code, it would be so easy to reintroduce a bug. So we conditionally replace things. So Jason can still have his existing implementation, pretty much. That should had no extra overhead in his version, but if you want to make sure that we're not doing these funny things. This little default in Windows. And what I'm thinking about is, okay, so we're on a branch that we can usefully submit. And then I have to see if my editor setup is good here. I mean, AM should be safe. We've got some other stuff lying around. .h linear db 3.cpp. Okay, we get this editor, which is unhappy because I also have a gvim going on. Let's see. Fix map inconsistency errors. So like this is fix file operation ordering in linear db affecting Windows or actually, we can just go with the branch. And then relates linear db3. Let's see. Windows Server builds. We're experiencing map errors and inconsistencies. The cause appears to be read write ordering as identified in fopen documentation. And I don't know if this is actually marked down. I still have this open. Well, this is fopen. Okay, well, it did. Oh, no, that was just the line. Okay. However, that is not nicely wrapped. What is that? Oh, no, but if I do new lines, then I have to worry about the indent characters. Vim. HTML. Inner paragraph. Bye. Nope. Oh, Wait. GG goes to the top. Adds unwanted indentation. I don't know. GQ. Let's think GQ AP. IP. But then the indent characters are going to get all messed up. Well, we should have a little bit of headroom. Nope, 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 that was not. Beginning of line. This patch adds a conditional wrapper around linear DB file operations to add a sequence necessary. It is enabled by default on Windows. Let's see. Presumably the continued operation of the main servers means this is not an issue on Linux. Implementation of the undefined. All right. I don't know if that'll end up formatting nice. And I think that's that. I don't, oh, it can complete that. Cool. Oh, you know what? Jason has pushed a few things since we've been doing this. Well, he'll probably do more before he gets to this as well. Still, it'd be polite to... let's see, is it nothing onto... So get fetch. Like, there's not like any real content changes or even server changes per se, but rebase onto JSON or master. A sheet about updating each component of Windows. I'm not sure what you mean by that. You mean like Microsoft's internal documentation about how to deal with things? Okay, and that pulled in all this nicely. I forgot to spell check it. How do you edit a commit message? Okay, so it just gives you the editor. Okay, so linear DB3 is fine. What is it? Kiss test, F open. Okay, so a lot of these were actually not that big a deal. Let me guess, they want us to capitalize Linux. I kind of saw that, and I kind of didn't care that much. Technically, this is linear DB3. Yeah, but I am committing to somebody else's project, so it seems polite. All right, so now we push this back. Okay, that's... Oh, I guess they just differ about repositioned. Yeah, it doesn't like this as a compound word. Okay. And hopefully that's a sufficient description of the problem, that if he wants to solve it a different way, he can. More like the piecemeal version I did. Or WTF Blub did. Alright. So that's all of that. I don't think I have any other closely related stuff to work on. I still don't have a reproduction for the click bug. No. I probably need to spend some time adding debugging for that. Although somebody did a keyboard interface to the client that I might actually have to try out and then see about absorbing. If it works, I don't know if it's going to work. But I don't think I have anything to work on right now. Certainly not anything quick. So that's probably going to be the end of the programming stuff. I am going to be back in a little bit to do some Step Mania. I don't necessarily expect anybody to stick around for that. Okay, so this is just, we don't need you anymore. Programming stream is over. Ooh, how do you mean? What are you talking about? Sheets. A sheet about updating each component of window. Put yourself about sheets. I still don't know what you're talking. I still don't know what sheets are or where this came from. I'm missing some context here, or some connection to this conversation. I mean, are these spreadsheets? Are these like white papers documenting things? Describe all the changes. Well, this is... Yeah, you could say fix map errors on Windows or inconsistent map errors on Windows. And then describe what was going on behind it. I guess it felt like a better description of the actual change, but it's not... A user wouldn't understand it, but I was pretty much writing it to Jason, who should be able to understand that. This isn't going to be a... I mean, the only Windows build is from OBS, or people who build it themselves. So maybe OBS would do a changelog with it or something. So yeah, that's a good point about general practice. I'm not too worried about it right now. So if you do want to continue talking about this, we can come back and do it while I'm dancing. That is going to be it for now. Thanks for watching. Thanks for hosting. I'm not going to ghost anybody else because I'm going to be coming back to do Step Mania. If you were here for programming, thanks for coming and watching and hanging out. If you want to continue to hang out with me, I will be back in a little bit. I'm going to need to change stream settings, and wow, that's actually earlier than I thought. But we've done what we need to do. By the clock, it's actually approaching lunchtime. So yeah, I will be back in a few minutes.